Alright, like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. Yeah, we back to the movies. This joint's called The Whole Truth. Trying to earn an acquittal for a teen client accused of murdering his wealthy father, a defense attorney uncovers disturbing facts about the victim. Came out 2016. It's an hour and a half long. Spoiler alert. Let's get it. Here we got Keanu Reeves, defense attorney at law. He just chilling right now, getting ready for the case. He has to defend this boy by the name of Mike, who's getting accused of first-degree murder for killing his dad. And there's his mom, Loretta, in attendance. Look at Renee Zellweger looking like, damn, that's fire. I couldn't even tell it was her at first until she started talking. So the thing about this case is Mike is being charged as an adult even though he's only 17 years old. And here we got the judge. He ain't going for the bullshit today. So the plaintiff is here basically saying beyond a shadow of a doubt, he's guilty. Dud Dale had his hands on the weapon. That's a wrap. Keanu's going to try to find some way to prove that it was an act of self-defense. Now the key thing about the dad is he's supposed to be a good dad, but people think that he has some quote-unquote vile tendencies. Now even if that's true, he doesn't deserve death, right? Now the thing that's making this case hard on his end is that Mike has not talked to his attorney throughout this case. Matter of fact, he hasn't said a word since his father died. Now, a big part of this movie are the character witnesses. We had the flight attendant who was there on Mike's private jet. Then we get flashbacks about Mike and his father riding jets talking about which colleges he needs to go to. Now, the things she conveniently leaves out are the types of women that ride these jets. He's got quote-unquote women out there that belong to the streets. Then they bring his personal limo driver to the stand, which coincidentally, he leaves out the same thing on his testimony, talk about these quote-unquote women, including on the day of the murder. Mom looking concerned, but more so concerned that her son's not saying anything. Throughout this time, Keanu decides to bring in another attorney, a lady by the name of Janelle. At this particular point in time, she's just there for moral support. Throughout all this time, Loretta keeps trying to talk to Keanu. He's like, I'll get with you within 5 minutes. They go over her qualifications and they feel like she's up to par, so he's like, alright. Then the next person that's on the stand is the cop that went to the door. She tells her story about how she came to the door. Loretta lets her in and tells her hurry up and come upstairs. They both go in the room and what do they see? Son standing over his father's body with a knife in his chest, dead. When Loretta leaves the room, the police officer says she heard Mike say, I should have done it a long time ago. That statement is wrong because the statement was, should have happened a long time ago instead of I. Definitely a play on words, and when it comes to the court, words matter. Flashback into the incident after the cop came, Keanu came afterwards and made sure he tended to Loretta. Janelle doesn't feel right about something, but the bottom line is, Mike is still not talking to anybody. Then Loretta talks to Keanu about her son. He's like, and he's terrified. He's still not saying nothing. Then for deliberation, he tells Janelle to meet her at the hotel or whatever like that because he's got all this paperwork there. And when she gets there, there's definitely a pigsty when it comes to a bunch of paperwork. Now we got this guy on the stand that happens to be a next door neighbor, and his son and their son are best friends. Then it shows a flashback of him getting jealous because Mike and his wife get along so well. Then he tells this random story about how somebody poisoned a cat. And Mike, when he was young, played detective and figured out who poisoned the cat. But enough of that good Samaritan stuff. Back to that case. We get this scene where Mike was like very verbally abusive to Loretta. I won't say what he said to her, but it was completely unnecessary. Then Mike stands up for his mom and tells her to stop it. In the story, he's the one that tried to say that he confronted his dad knowing damn well he didn't. Because in real life, he's scared to death of his dad and he got money. He even told him in one scene, don't fuck around because, I'll put you back where you came from out here in these streets. So, he ain't standing up to nobody, get that weak shit out of here. Then the next comes the police chief. He said that they only found Mike's fingerprints around the knife. I'm thinking to myself, how strong is Mike to just jab that shit one time in his chest, done deal, one shot kill with a knife? In the interrogation room, he said Mike or Loretta didn't have a whole lot to say. Now, I think most of his testimony is true to his knowledge. Then we got the forensic specialist. Oh boy. Now, the story goes she got out the shower and seen her husband laying on the floor dead. Now, Keanu asks him about hair samples. He said him and his staff found no other hair samples other than in the shower. Which we learned in his flashback was bullshit because he found one other hair sample of hers in the sink. Now, what does that mean? Because she had been washing blood off of her in the sink? You know what I'm saying? Who knows? Bottom line, there's some bullshit in that statement. Now, the next door neighbor we were talking about, this is his son. It was scenes where he was watching Loretta bathe naked and shit. Peeking Tom having ass, little kid having ass. But then it got crazy another night when he was looking out the window. And he would see him grabbing her forcefully, involving sexual acts. Then he witnessed some things again. Doing indescribable things on the balcony. Now, Mike's father might have been vile-tempered, but you could kind of see how they're trying to paint him right now. Now, Keanu's talking to Loretta because she's going to have to take the stand next. He goes over what they talked about. He says, just stick to the script. See, in the flashbacks, he's like a friend of the family's. And I thought to myself, wouldn't that be a conflict of interest? But then I was like, nah, it can't be because they're not related. So alright, let's roll with that. But then she said to him something about feeling threatened about ever trying to leave Mike if she tried to leave him. Talking about he would find her and kill her, but then she's like, yeah, I'm joking, but not really. Well, alrighty then. So as they're going over the case, Keanu asks Janelle why she even took this job. And she had got fired from her other job for stalking this guy who was married and was smashing. She's like, I'm not crazy, I just really like this dude. Keanu's looking like, alright. Alright, here we go. Time for Loretta to take that stand. Nigga. So she said she was jogging downstairs. She didn't think anybody was home. Mike was supposed to be at soccer practice. So after she finished working up a sweat, she goes upstairs to take a shower. She said when her husband came home, he was saying some vile things to her, but would not explain what they were in the court. And they allowed her not to say these things. Then she said when she came out the shower, she found him dead. Then she said Mike came in the room and said he's dead, isn't he? After soccer practice was canceled and he came home early. Now wait a minute. If Mike is on trial for killing his father, y'all the only three in the house, why would he leave out the room and then come back in the room and ask if he's dead? Like, really? At this point, you gotta be thinking to yourselves, Loretta's the one that killed him, and Mike is just trying to take the fall for his mom. Then she goes on to say that he did it. Then she brings up something that was not brought up in paperwork. She says she was physically and verbally abused by Dad. Now, of course, the plaintiff was like, whoa, where's the evidence of this? What's going on? And then Keanu pulls out the paperwork and gives it to him. So if you're like me right now, something ain't adding up. Even Janelle's fishy of this shit. So now after this, Keanu's pissed out because Mike is going to take the stand. And considering he hasn't talked to him the whole time, he doesn't know what he's going to say. He don't know what the fuck is going on. So yes, he has a good reason to be pissed off at this decision. Loretta's concerned too. She's like, what the fuck is my son going to say? He doesn't know either, but he's trying to reassure her, like, look, he's going to do the right thing. He's going to know what to say. And now Mike approaches the bench. Oh boy. He talks about how he got home early from soccer practices, was canceled, tells the incident just like mom told it, but then he brings up something unexpected. He says his father has been raping him ever since he was 12. What in all of the fuck, man? Now, whether this is true or not, considering the assault on a mom and the sexual abuse on his son, there's no doubt they're trying to get sympathy from the jury. Now, something in between this testimony made him bring the flight attendant back up. But because of the insensitive questioning Keanu did last time, Janelle's going to take her shot. Janelle notices the wedding ring on her hand and starts differing the line of her questioning. Now, Mike said the rapes occurred on the plane, too. Now, she's trying to figure out how much time she would spend on the plane or elsewhere. Now, she did have a good relationship with the pilots. She broke her down and she started saying that she might spend 10, 20, 30 more minutes dealing with the pilots and stuff. Plenty of time for Mike's father to do things to him. Because she said she never witnessed anything like that on the plane. Consider what we heard already, I question that right now. But the real issue is, did Mike really kill his father? Then Janelle has one-on-one conversation with Loretta. And considering the line of questioning, Loretta feels like she's being backed into a corner. Then we get to a flashback where it looks like Loretta is covering up for her son. So did she kill her husband? That's what it looks like in the flashback. She comes back to the hotel with Keanu to go over the notes. She's like, Loretta called, you know she wants you fired, right? But obviously he's not going to do that. But it gives you that suspicion, maybe she did kill her husband. And then it's time for the verdict. We find the defendant, Mike, not guilty. They can't even say on all counts. It was only one count, like first degree murder. Let me ask a legit question. How can you not get multiple accounts if it's already first degree murder? They ain't giving no manslaughter, intent to kill. I mean, like, come on. You have to get at least 2 second degrees if you already got a first degree. So yeah, Janelle, that's bullshit right there. So then we get Keanu and Mike in a room in a flashback, and then Mike says something real interesting. Back at the scene, Mike, I saw a watch under the bed, which his mom conveniently picked up. Whose hand did she put that watch in? Holy shit, that's Keanu's watch, yo. Yes, Keanu was the one that killed Mike's father. What an deeper! So he was having an affair with Loretta. They both knew about this situation and they were both going to put their son up for trial for murder. Yeah, if I'm him, I would want to slap the piss out of everybody. All I wanted to do was go to college, trying to pick whether UCLA or Stanford or Oregon or some shit. I guess he's not as mad because he got scot-free, but I ain't trusting nobody out this bitch. Don't be trying to cheer me up, mom. Fuck out of here. Consider that your Mother's Day gift, goddammit. So she's going to meet up with Keanu at the house later. But before that, we get a flashback of when he actually talked to Mike and how he felt like somebody's probably smashing his wife. But he's like, she ain't going to leave me. She ain't taking my money. Fuck out of here. Then he thought back to the conversation about her saying that he would threaten to kill her if she leaves. So there you go. Motivation to get rid of a nigga. Then we go to the events of what really happened that day. The father came home. She was in the shower hitting herself with a rock to make it seem like she was all bruised up. And then the stabbing. How you one-shot kill a nigga with a knife? That's crazy. The crazy thing is he tried to get her to touch the knife. And before she did it, that's when her son came home. Which at that point, she convinced him to touch the knife. Man, that's some wild shit. And the final scene is basically the beginning scene where he's sitting back and reflecting on all this shit. And that's the whole truth for you. But ain't nothing 100% truthful about this shit. I feel like the characters are justified and they're not at the same time. Now, whether his son really was raped or not, who's to say? I guess Keanu saved her from abuse, but then took the matters in his own hands? The Whole Truth on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. Link these, y'all, DZ, Mr. 60 Big. Who's got that slogan?